Hi, everyone. How are you? So I'm with a startup called AR for Everyone. And what we have is a low-cost entry into the mobile AR, VR market. My background, my first job was mixing clay for an artist pottery out on Cape Cod. And so I have always been a part of the intersection of technology and the arts. That carried me forward. When I met the co-founder with me, Dennis Solomon, he had introduced me to VRML, and that started a new trajectory for my career, where I went on to learn about computer graphics and animation, realizing that that was just a tool. I took a step back and went into fine arts training and learned from the Atelier method through a guy named Chuck Stigliano at Mass Art. And he taught in the Erlbacher method, which is a classic traditional way to understand anatomy. That led me to the understanding that there is this broad kind of human factors envelope that expands when you understand the human body and when you understand how the human interacts with the world around him and when you understand how to interact and create for and about the human. Raymond Loewy and Tim Brown have reinforced that thinking into the modern design and industrial ecosystems. That experience allowed me to begin with a cross-functional kind of media training in arts and storytelling and video, sculpture, animation, and storyboarding to work for startups. And I've worked for movie studio startups, defense companies, and most recently for Shell, where I ended up here at AR in Action because of my time at Shell. And we built a startup here in town, which is now a fully functioning part of the innovation ecosystem inside of Shell. And we were allowed access to what Bob Metcalf described last year, which is this playground where you had access to tools and technology. And my former colleagues, some of them who are here, two guys here, we got to play with some really advanced tech. We got to scan stuff and play with VR and do mixed reality experiments in order to validate business cases. And then AR came onto the market, and the AR came into the public consciousness. And really quickly, there was this mismatch between what augmented reality promises and where the hardware is. And I have a very broad understanding of AR. I think of AR as everything from the sensor fusion and data fusion that's been talked about to what Kirk is talking about with visual assistance down through all the way to being able, oh, sorry, I'm skipping around. When Dennis presented the idea of this optical path to me, it was because there was this broad marketplace and this convergence happening in the marketplace. Am I on the wrong slide? I'm sorry, I'm a little bit sleep deprived. It was because of this convergence in the marketplace. There's a broad adoption of mobile. The devices are super powerful. The screens are super bright. There's mesh networks are coming online. 5G is hinted at by the major companies. And the tools in order to develop have become super easy to use. We would go from having an idea to implementing in Unity in a matter of days, if not hours. That type of interaction with your art-making tools or your production-making tools is almost unheard of. The computer power, the graphics cards, all of this stuff has kind of come together. So Dennis highlighted this market. Obviously, there are these great headsets. They're thousands of dollars, right? Kirk, who spoke before me, is not going to be able to afford a $3,000 headset or a $1,000 pair of glasses for every one of his firefighters. Right now, we have an opening in the market that is a real awesome opportunity. Therefore, we started to look at the fact that there were all these different use cases. And now one of the bigger learnings from Shell was going out into the field. I was lucky enough to be able to do the helicopter training where they dunk you in a tank, go out into the world, look at rig workers, and then also experience the C-suite in innovation and what was expected and dreamed of by the highest levels of the company down to what's the reality for the workers every day. And the high-priced glasses are not the reality. They are, they're almost a, I don't want to say a burden, they're something that impedes progress towards this science fiction-like future where we have these really elegant glasses that we all believe will be, you know, data all the time and whatever we want. That stuff, we're not there yet. And what we need is innovation in the market. We need the ability to unlock the potential of the broad middle of the market, the experimenters, the young students, art departments who are training their students in how to use Unity as they upgrade their sculpting and digital workflows are not going to be able to afford $3,000 HoloLens or $1,000 smartphone glasses, right? So there's this great sort of sweet spot for us. We looked at the optic paths as we started to design a really sophisticated headset, and the prototyping units revealed this opportunity to make something like a cardboard-like solution for the market that is low cost. It's under $30 and it converts to a bunch of different modes. The thing is right now, when we talk about AR, there's the high-end experience and then there's holding the phone in your hand. You walk around your environment and you have your phone in your hand. That is amazing to see a product demo unfold before you or to place an object on a table. But when you start, or maybe even just hold up a tablet and see the unit that you need to work on break apart. But when it comes time to actually put tools to work or time to play, this, you know, holding the phone in your hand is going to get in the way, right? And it does get in the way. And it blocks access to a really immersive play, work, productivity style experience. And so the hope is that we go and have this augmented reality layer. And when I'm talking about augmented reality, we're talking about a visual data layer, right? The hope is that we have that available to us at all times and easily, inexpensively. And so we started to work on this device, which comes out of the prototyping and is a really nice little form factor. It's very inexpensive. They're coming in under $30. We just finished our today we finished our Kickstarter at AR4E, and we successfully funded. It was really just to unlock scale so that we can start to send out to departments in computer science and people and coders who are experimenting, the guys at Unity, at Mapbox, right, to see what bubbles up, right? Because there's an amazing amount of potential when you're limited by hardware and you're unable to access the expensive parts of the market. That hinders growth. And what we would like to see, and here's a little info, this is just a little piece of art. This is the beam path, very simple. You add the phone in, image bounces around, you get a field of view. We have a demo out on the floor, so come by and see it. It'll give you an idea of the screen size and the field of view size. Right now it's about 110 degrees. We really wanted to go after things like comfort, right? Being able to wear it for long durations, you know, really leverage the power of the phone, right? There's all this amazing computing going on the phone, and it's really everything from a productivity assistant to a visual tracker, a GPS navigator, all that stuff built in, and we wanted it accessible, right? So that way we can really start to realize this potential marketplace. The edges are where the cool stuff happens, right? It's not going to be top-down management that says, you know, make AR happen. A lot of times people cannot afford, even in high-end innovation departments, to scale and deploy across a whole organization something that is a little bit more of a white glove experience. So we have two paths that we've embarked on. One is this hardware path where we are developing not only this very simple form factor, but also moving into more sophisticated pieces of hardware, and then also content, right? Because my training is in the arts and I am consider myself a storyteller by nature, then the obvious, sort of place in the market is to design experiences and to help people create a scale-like experience that really does not break their budget or create cost overruns. We have, thank you, Brendan. There's one of the headsets right there. So we have, they're really lightweight and easy. So we have some hardware paths that we're embarking on. This is the first step, and it's a step back for us because of this curve in the market. There is this big, empty, unserved portion of the market where Kirk wants to train his firefighters in augmented reality right now. And again, the cost is prohibitive to do that on scale. How do you put everyone in this room at a reasonable cost inside of a headset? But it does come out of experiments for much more sophisticated glasses-based technology. And our next moves will include a hard hat, a bike helmet, and a brimmed hat. So everything from the lowest end of the market to moving into kind of the Gear VR plastic daydream sort of world, right? Again, because the phone is placed close to your head, it makes it easy to wear, it's light and comfortable. But then that's only hardware and a platform for delivery. There's really this kind of unique sauce, which is the content creation. What do you do with it? Now, I think we've all seen amazing examples over the last few years of what you can do with it. And so now is a chance to really sort of break open the storytelling experiences. No longer will you need to hold your phone in your hand while you try and construct the Lego thing or try and do your unit of work. Now with a headset in a mobile environment, you're able to exercise your productivity. And that becomes I feel like that's a game changer, right? It starts to step into the market and say, you've been promised this augmented reality future, this glasses-based headset reality. Well, let's stimulate the very beginnings of that with something that's accessible to everyone, because I'm sure none of us really know what that killer app is going to be, right? We all had expected a killer app to break open VR. Now, VR is doing fine and it's growing, but it's not at the pace that we had expected. And I don't think that, there is a killer app. It's called Superhot. Thank you, Dotto, for introducing me to Superhot. If you haven't played Superhot, then please do. It's quite an experience. But then we also found that, there were these amazing uses where we did mixed reality experiments, people holding a handrail while walking around a facility. That is so transformative. And now with the headset, you can see the world around you, right? So you're not just sort of locked in to this only single view, which removes eye strain. It's going to remove some of the spatial sickness that happens for a lot of people, right? And it creates an easy way to continue to be in the world while having this other layer of information presented upon it, right? So AR4E and my own company, ARX, we're kind of like joined forces in this content and hardware positioning. And we've been out shooting 360 video. We've been testing interfaces and lighting conditions to see what works and what doesn't, and starting to learn best practices. Dennis and I, we joke a little bit about creating a content center of excellence. That there's really, but that's happening here at the Media Lab through guys like John, through events like this. We're kind of like right at the nexus of this tipping point in the marketplace where it's getting really interesting and very exciting. Building video games is not just the hat trick of augmented reality. That tool time training, the ability to have remote assistance, access to expertise or sensor fusion is really where it gets fun and exciting for day-to-day life, for really upgrading people's skills. I wanted to mention Seymour Papert and his constructionism kind of thinking, right? This idea that we're going to be able to unlock this power of learning because it no longer needs to be book-bound, linear type training, right? There's now the opportunity to go completely non-linear with your trainings, with your experiences. Video games have been accepted as a learning mode. There's no reason to hold back any longer, right? The thing that's been holding kind of the fat middle of this curve back has been access to hardware. The mobile phone is perfect for that. It's got a lot of power, right? It won't do all of the things that we want right out of the gate, but I think that's where the innovation will happen. And we know that this is kind of like, you know, the slogan, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. But this augmented reality, this market is an elephant, and the projections are astronomical about its growth over the next just even 5 years, a decade. So how do we attack this, right? Well, we're going to do it as a group together. We will be able to dissect this thing and come up with solutions that serve the space. We've already begun to grab partnerships in medicine and defense, in industry and infrastructure. And one project I'd like to mention is my good friend Aaron Riley from the Annenberg School in New Media Literacy is working to create these phygital experiences, play-based experiences. And while I was with her in LA looking at the strategic scenarios of how this would work out, it always broke when you had to hold up the phone. It limited the play. It limited the immersion in play. So what kind of came out of that was this real, and also conversations with guys like Kirk from last year, is there's this need to get something, an optic, that's accessible and easy to use, and pair that with some great content, and pair that with best practices. How do you actually put a user interface in front of someone's face? What do you do when they are moving forward in space? How active or passive is this the interface layer? What does it know about the user? We've talked broadly about use cases in entertainment and this idea that the collective journey is starting to overtake this idea of the hero's journey, right? The hero's journey is still the individual's journey here on Earth, right? We now understand a broader market dynamic, and that is this collective journey. And if you watch movies critically, you will see them playing to these broader group dynamics. The opportunity is now to play out the group dynamic as well as the individual one. The mobile phone, that mobile network contains the information of you. So not only can you experience the catharsis of the group, but you can also experience your own individual piece of that with real resolution. That's pretty incredible. And we hope that you'll come and check out the demo. The headset's here. We'll throw a phone in it with one of the 360 videos so you can get a sense of the optic. And please come and join us. Thank you.